Good morning, fans of football, and welcome to Tri-State Football Weekly with Mike Goodpaster and James Ernest. This week, we're going to discuss the results of the UC's recent football game. Unfortunately, they got a bye week, so there ain't really much to talk about after that. Then, actually, even the game, there ain't really much to talk about, but we're going to make it work. Miami's coming off a bye, but they've got a huge game against UNLV. So, Mike, what have the teams been up
Well,
to?
I mean, UC had a bye week last week, too, as they played Northwestern State. We're going to talk about that in a minute. We'll talk about a huge game for the Miami Redhawks. They're going to battle an undefeated UNLV team, 3-0. Just they came off a win against UCLA, which most years would be impressive, but not so much over the last couple of years with UCLA. But yeah, the Northwestern State Cincinnati game is going to be the first game we talk about. And I don't even know what to say because I've never seen a game before in college where the coaches agreed to shorten the quarters to 10 minutes a quarter in the second half. And the Bearcats rolled Northwestern State 70-0. I mean, Sorsby might be up for the Hall of Fame or might be up for the College Football Hall of Fame. He made history in multiple ways on Saturday. His stat line, I don't think he could do much better. He was 15 of 15. 253 yards, 5 touchdowns, tied second most ever in a game. The completion rate mark is tied with Gunnar Kiel for the best single game in school history. I would like to know who they played when Gunnar Kiel went perfect. And, we could say that Sorsby is continuing strong passing from the week before against Bowling Green, but this was Bowling Green, who's a lot better than Northwestern State. But Bowling Green, Northwestern State, the thing that sticks out in my mind is the best team they played in Nebraska. Sorsby did not look great. So that would be my concern with Sorsby coming forward. I think he can get the job done. I just don't know if he can get it done at a more than 6 or 7 win clip, James. And like I said, I've never seen a game where you shorten the quarters. I've seen it in high school where you might have a running clock from the middle of the second quarter on. But I think this was undoubtedly the worst team that Cincinnati faced this century. And it's tough to take anything away from this game other than the Bearcats got the blowout. They looked completely in control. They didn't suffer any injuries. It tied for the third largest scoring margin in history. So they did what they were supposed to do. That's probably the biggest takeaway you could have from this game. They didn't play down to the competition because, let's face it, I mean, Anderson or Moeller probably would have beat the hell out of Northwestern State, James.
Good possibility. I just thought it was nice that, like you said, then the no injuries, and then they did what they were supposed to. Sorsby had a great game, like you already touched on. The running backs, got right in this game. They went from, 5-6 yards a carry to 10, 11, 12 yards a carry, which obviously is not going to be a thing that's going to happen, against Kansas. But it's just nice to get a good feel there and get a good game out of the way. Obviously, this is a lot easier than if they would have just done a scrimmage against themselves. I mean, heck, I was at that earlier this year for the spring ball game, and the defense, of course, that was early in the year, was giving them all kinds of fits because, well, defenses are usually ahead of the offenses. Plus, they're all Division I athletes on that field for that. So, yeah, it really didn't answer any questions. It really didn't change any opinions. But they sold some tickets and they had a nice
You know what? You
event,
said it didn't answer any questions, but at least it didn't raise any questions. That's always
That's true. Uh, yeah, that's true. And then because they dominated possession, even the defense really, I mean, they did great by stopping them, but none of them made any outrageous or spectacular plays. There weren't any like sacks or picks or any of that stuff. So there wasn't any highlight reel action on there.
Yeah, and next up, like you said, they have a bye week. Then they will go to Kansas. They will host a very good undefeated Iowa State team who's ranked 12th. Then they host Central Florida. They go to Oklahoma State. They host Baylor. They go to Utah. So this is going to get much more difficult. There's no more Northwestern States. And I mean, the Cincinnati Kansas game is a huge game because Kansas is a team that UC might be able to beat on the road. I would say look at Kansas
Hmm.
so far this season. They blew out Fresno State 31-7. They beat Wagner 46-7. They lost to Missouri, but they only lost 42-31. So I think it's a game where Kansas will probably be favored. UC will be the underdog, but it is the opportunity to gauge the improvement that UC has had since that first game at Arrowhead against Nebraska.
Yeah, this feels like one of those games, and I know it's early in the season to say must win, but then again, based on last year and falling apart the second half of the season, you got to win the ones early. So yeah, it feels like a must-win
Yeah,
game
it's
for
definitely a must
Satterfield.
game win when you consider that the next week you're going to play Iowa State. So Iowa State's no pushover, neither's UCF. You got Baylor and Utah. So really, the next 6 games for UC, you have to win the Oklahoma State game. You have to win the UCF game. But then you've got Baylor, Utah, Iowa State, and Kansas. Really, to really get it going here, you need to win 2 of those games. From what I've seen, I mean, Kansas and Baylor at home are probably your 2 best shots because Iowa State and Utah are going to be really tough to get.
Yeah. So it's be an interesting season. Like you said, it's by this week, so there's really not too much to dive into there. Switching over, I think, to Miami.
Yeah, and the Red Hawks have a huge game against UNLV. UNLV is a team that's 3-0 this season. They're coming off a 30-23 home win over UCLA. Offensively, the Rebels are very good. Dan Mullins, the head coach, 35.3 points per game. Wonder if Florida would like to have him back since they ran him out of town, and now he's 3-0. Defensively,
Mhm.
they allowed 25 points per game, which ranks 80th in the nation. So not great on defense. And Anthony Calandria leads the Rebels. He's completed 49 out of 65 passes for 647 yards. And he has also added 175 rushing yards with a touchdown. Jadian Thomas leads the team in rushing yards with 273, 4 touchdowns. Kayvon Lee adds 66 yards. This is a team that I think they're a good team, but they did only beat UCLA by 7. This is a game that I think right now the Red Hawks are underdogs by 3.5 points. And defensively, I don't think UNLV is great. And with Miami, I think Daquan Finn, he struggled in the first game. He struggled at times in the other 2 games, but overall, he's 23 for 41, 334 total yards, 98 rushing yards. They need more out of Daquan Finn, I think. Defensively, I think they're solid. Eli Blakely, Silas Walters. They got some guys that can play. Adam Trick leads with 2 sacks, and Miami's 0-2. They need to get this win. I know with Miami, you're just looking at MAC conference to win games, but I think this is a winnable home game against a Mountain West team that is considered better than them, which is why they're favored. But I think UNLV, I don't think this UNLV team is as good as the UNLV team from last year. And I think the Red Hawks have a decent chance here to pull off the upset.
Exactly. I agree with you. I think this is a game where Finn gets right. I think he's going to show some improvements and get more comfortable with the system. But the good news is, if this one doesn't work out, next week we know they are
Why they
going
play
to win
Northwestern
because
State?
they're playing exactly. Well, they play the equivalent, Linden Wood.
Linden Wood would probably beat
Yeah.
Northwestern State by about 100 points. But Linden Wood.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So you don't like Linden Wood
Yeah.
football, huh?
Not a big fan. I think I remember UC beating them pretty soundly a year
Was
or
that in
two
football or
ago.
basketball? Well, all I can
Football.
tell you is Lindenwood is usually a decent program. Now, it's smaller. I think it's the 1AA or FCS, whatever they call it now. But they
Yeah.
started off the year to beat St. Thomas, or they lost to St. Thomas out of Minnesota. They played App State tough. They only lost 20-13. I think that was 2 weeks ago to App State. And
Oh,
then Charlestown Southern, they beat 35-28. So I think they play Stony Brook this week. But going back to UNLV, The other things I think here are key is the
Mhm.
Redhawks have won 7 of their last 8 games at Yager Stadium. Now, here's another key betting tip here. UNLV has lost each of its last 3 games to MAC opponents, and Miami of Ohio has covered a spread in 4 of its last 5 games. So, if you look at UNLV, though, what it comes down to, UNLV has won its last 11 September games against non AP ranked teams, and Miami has lost 7 of its last 8 as an underdog. I still think here that Miami has a legit shot to win this game. And I know they got destroyed by Rutgers, but that was a close game up until about mid third quarter. And I think Rutgers is a lot better than UNLV. So this is going to come down to whether Miami could get the offense going or not against a UNLV team that gives up 25 points a game.
Exactly. That's where I think the improvement's going to be this week. I think the big change is going to be that because of that, because of UNLV's defense, it's going to give Miami an opportunity to
Yeah,
compete.
and UNLV, if you look at the schedule so far, you had, I think it was a 1 touchdown win over Idaho State. They beat Sam Houston State by 17. And then you had to win against UCLA by 7 points. And of course, I mean,
Mhm.
when you look at it, though, the stats don't blow you away. And really, I think if I remember right, UNLV was up like 23-3 or 23-6 at halftime against UCLA. They were dominating UCLA. UCLA outscored them 20-7 in the second half. But yeah, I think this is a well coached UNLV football team. I think they're going to win 8 or 9 games this year. But I think also in the Mountain West, they get to miss some of the better teams they won't have to play this year. So yeah, I would take Miami in 3.5 points all day long in this game.
Nice. And speaking of that, I'm excited. This week, I'm going to be at Yager Stadium. So I'm looking forward to the big game up there, watching them play UNLV. I think it's going to be very competitive. I think it's going to be very action packed. And yeah, I mean, unfortunately, last week I didn't get to go to a game. It was the wife's birthday. So I went and watched the Michael Jackson musical. I was going to say, I doubt too many of our fans are big
Well,
musical
everybody likes
fans.
Michael Jackson, though.
Uh, it actually was really good. It was very exciting. It really incorporated the majority of his life. It came all the way up to like the bad or the
The
what was
Thriller
the
album,
whatever around that time
the
period.
Thriller
It was
album, or after that?
Thriller. Yeah, it was around. It
So it'd been 19,
was right
yeah,
a
so like
little bit after that.
1983, 84. I'm old enough that I actually
It was a
remember
little
listening to the Thunder or to the Thriller cassette tape while going to school on the school bus.
nice. But whichever one was like his last tour that was just insanely huge because it went into the fact that he had to leverage everything. Like it was really neat. It was definitely worth checking out. It was down in Louisville, so it was a bit of a drive,
Well,
but
his last
shoot,
tour,
like
let's see. So would that have been his Story World Tour of the late 90s?
yeah, it was
Yeah, because
around that
actually his
time
final
period, I believe.
concert, this is just for minutia that I happen to know, would have been the This Is It
Yeah.
tour, but that was, planned and then he passed away. So he never got to do that.
Yeah, because they made a movie about it,
Yeah, because
and that was the neat thing about the musical. It was very similar to that.
yeah, so I mean, because I think his last world tour was 1996, 97, and that was the His Story World Tour, which spanned, I think it spanned like 5 continents, had like 82 concerts in like 60 cities, 35
Exactly.
countries, and I think it attracted like
Mhm.
5 million fans.
Yeah, that was the big thing is they were like, "Are you doing too much? Is it too big?" Or they were all worried about, him going bankrupt on it. He had to leverage his house and everything to get the money to do
Well,
everything
it,
he
it
wanted.
was the highest
Uh,
grossing tour of the 1990s. I think it grossed like $165 million. So I think he got to keep his house.
yes, he did. Yeah, it all worked out in the end. It was a nice, happy story, and they didn't cover any of the stuff that happened at
Well,
the
did your
end of
wife have a
his
good time?
life. So that was Oh, she loved it. She's a huge fan of his. That's the reason why I bought the tickets, because I didn't buy them for me. I bought them for her because it was her
Sure,
birthday.
James.
But yeah, yeah, she wanted. She was disappointed that it ended. She was like, "No, I want more. I want to see stuff with him and Janet doing things together and all that." Because they didn't have Janet in it at all. They didn't have Latoya was in it for like 10 seconds at
Well,
most.
Jermaine was in it, wasn't he?
So she was disappointed.
And Tito.
Oh yeah, all the regular Jackson. Yeah, the regular
Also,
Jackson
the actual
Five were
Jacksons were
a big
there for the
part of.
musical.
No, none of the actual Jacksons.
Oh, come on. You
That
said you said Tito was there.
well, the characters were there that they put, but they didn't even acknowledge the fact that Janet was his sister in it. That was the part that was kind of like, what the heck, you know?
I know Janet was his best brother or sister. It was the best
Yeah,
sibling in the family compared to Michael.
I agree. I thought she's quite interesting, so I
I
was
figured you
disappointed.
would have liked Latoya better just because she got naked in Playboy.
Oh, Latoya is. Oh yeah, she is. She's very attractive. I'm not denying that fact. But yeah, just they just didn't have much about them. It was mostly about the relationship between the Jackson Five, about the relationship between him and his father, and how his dad pushed him, but it kind of hurt him. It was
All
really
right.
interesting.
And everybody, Girly Truth wants to wish your wife, Sarah, I believe, correct? A
Mhm.
happy
Sarah, yeah.
26th birthday, too. So,
Why, thank you. She'll love that number. That'll make her so happy. But
well, that's how
yeah,
old she is, no matter what anybody says.
yeah. So yeah, shoot, another fun week of the show for James Ernest and my good pastor. We are excited. We hope to see you again next week.